So today I have the very special privilege of welcoming up someone who is very, very dear to me. She is just such a godly figure in my life, and she's also the spiritual prefect. So please just give a warm, warm welcome for Bianca Moore.
That was so cool. That's the first time I was able to sing that not up here. So Faith, great job. It was very refreshing. I felt like I was a sophomore again when we started it. Um, Obviously you guys know me. I don't really need to introduce myself. I've had really good heartfelt conversations with a lot of you guys here. And I'm honored that I've been able to, go to school with you guys for such a long time and that I've been able to serve you guys being up here. Um, and as you guys obviously know, duh, I'm spiritual life prefect and my faith is pretty public. I try not to shy away from telling people about my love for Jesus. However, there are still some parts of my life that I prefer to keep hidden. Um, and honestly, it gets pretty hard for me to even talk about some parts of my life, even to those really close to me. Like my struggles, my convictions, my temptations, all of the different seasons in my life. But someone really wise once told me that what you hide controls you. And a few of you know a little bit about my testimony, even if I did share, like, for a good amount. Only two people here, only two students here actually know my testimony in its entirety. And I'm going to be so honest with you guys. I actually really don't want to talk about this. My flesh is really like trying to get in my head, and the enemy has been, it's been spiritual warfare galore this week just because I don't want to talk about this. But the Lord has been putting it on my heart ever since the beginning of this year. Talk about your testimony, talk about your testimony. And at that time, I didn't really know what my testimony was. But now, new things have resurfaced, new things have come back from the past that I didn't realize have affected me that much. And I guess now I know what he meant by sharing my testimony. And I'm not doing this for you guys to pity me or to praise me. That's the furthest thing that I want. Please don't do that. I'm begging you. I'm doing this out of obedience of my God, who has told me many times, go and share. That is why I'm doing this. And I'm doing this so that maybe I can help a few of you who might relate to what I have gone through. Ever since I was a kid, I was in and out of the hospital, literally starting at 9 months. I cannot remember a time where I was not on any kind of medication for a year straight. I can't remember a time where I wasn't poked and prodded doing tons of tests for longer than 3 months. And with this comes a lot of unpacked baggage that I didn't think I actually had. Um, and with all of this medication that I was on, it messed with me physically and mentally. And I hadn't really realized that until recently. I honestly thought that it was normal for kids to go to the hospital or have doctor's appointments maybe like 5 times every 6 months. I thought that was normal, and I always wondered why some of the kids were so surprised when I said I had another doctor's appointment. Now we're gonna skip a little bit into middle school. I struggled with a lot of things. The 2 main ones, I had a really twisted view of what love and marriage was. And, media had just gotten in my head, and it had just really told me things about myself that I believed that was not true. I also struggled a lot with anxiety and depression and derealization. And, um, in high school, especially my sophomore year when I actually decided to be real with my faith and, actually pursue the Lord, not just say I follow him, I thought that I had just grown out of it, and I thought that my restored view of love was my healing. But honestly, that is the furthest thing from the truth. Um, I didn't realize that there are still so many issues that I needed to tackle. And a lot of it resurfaced this year. In August is when it kind of started. I had yet another medical issue. I had debilitating muscle spasms, specifically in my back. I had to sit out for about 2/3 of the volleyball season. I couldn't even bend over to pick something up. It was really bad. I had um, excruciating pain, excruciating episodes, and every time that actually felt fine and I was enjoying myself, it would just come back again. And it was I was stuck inside of a body that I couldn't even control, and it was terrifying and quite frankly pretty claustrophobic. It wasn't my favorite at all. And then for the next 6 months, I had several blood tests and brain scans and MRIs. There's a lot of time where I was excused from school because of a lot of appointments. And it turns out that it wasn't anything super serious. It was just my spine being misaligned and pressing on a nerve wrong. And so that was a praise report. However, I was on a couple of medications that really, really harmed me. One of the medications I was on is called Flexeril, and it messes with your brain chemistry. That is always a little risky. The next medication, I don't remember the name. It was something like Cadopa Ledopa or something. It's something really funny that I wish I remembered. But that one, it gave me dizziness and insomnia, and the doctors didn't actually tell us all of the side effects. My mom actually had to go look through like the scroll of the side effects just to see what the heck was going on. And this one, if the doctors told me, I would never have taken the pill. But the side effect was suicidal ideation and depression. And having struggled with that in the past, you can imagine how that affected me. Now, it doesn't affect all people, but with my past, it it just could not have been good. This December is when it all kind of started to come back. The thoughts and the emotions or lack of. It's weird when you feel so many emotions that you can't feel any of them, if that makes sense. Um, and I just kind of when they came back, I just shoot them away. I thought, "No, it's fine, like, it's just a one-time thing. Once I get off the pills, it'll be fine." Um, but then we went off the medication. Don't ever do this. Went off cold turkey because the doctors never told us how to wean off, so that was definitely not a smart move. And when that happens, the side effects actually get worse before they get better. And February, it just completely started going downhill. Um, I was depressed all the time, and honestly, my personality changed. I could not recognize who I was. I yelled at those that I loved. I isolated myself from those that I loved. I was weirdly passive aggressive, and I honestly was not myself. I had lost myself. And I honestly, I didn't like who I became, but I wasn't bothered enough to change it because I was just so tired of everything. And because of my feeling so many emotions and also not feeling any, if that makes sense, because of my numbness, I guess, I searched and searched for ways to feel something. And sorry, a little bit of a warning, but um, February was, mid February was the first time that I had hurt myself. And I expected it to be a one-time thing that I would feel super guilty about and then never do it ever again, but that is the furthest thing from the truth. And another thing that adds on to that, addiction runs in my family. And usually people associate that with alcoholism or drug abuse. But that addiction gene was really presenting itself in that moment. And it didn't turn into temptations anymore. It was something greater than that. And it was something that was really wrecking my life. And I, again, was not bothered enough to do anything about it. And the endorphins that release that when you get cut by anything, endorphins release in your brain. And when I felt those, I actually felt something, and I haven't felt that in a long time. And so I got hooked on it. And I I guess I just needed more. And even to this day, I struggle so much. And there are days where my body and my mind just craves something so much where I freeze up or I shut down. I'm just not even present. But I'm saying this right now, the only reason that I am here is because of God. And I know that sounds cliche. Everyone who comes up here and speaks always says the same thing. But when I say that, I'm not saying that I was praying to God every day, and I felt so connected and so close with him, and I heard his voice all the time. I actually have never felt more distanced, isolated, forsaken, and forgotten and hurt by God in my entire life. And especially having a faith that was so public and that I was always talking, "Oh, I love Jesus. He's so good. He's so good." I felt completely, honestly betrayed. And it was so looking back, it's hard, but in the moment, I was just so filled with anger and resentment that I couldn't see past my own darkness and the amount of doubt I experienced. I like fully doubted that he was even there or even real. However, the beautiful thing is that even in this season of doubt and anger, where the only prayers I would ever pray is cursing God, even in those moments, he still loved me. Even in the moments where I would just feel so tired and I would treat people in ways that they don't deserve to be treated, and I would just be rude and horrible and just completely isolate myself, he still loved me. Even in the moments where I knew he was watching and did it anyway, he loved me. And it's just so he loved me when I couldn't love myself. That is just absolutely insane to me. And I was just, like I said, so angry and bitter at him. I thought, "Oh, he's not even here. He doesn't even wanna be here." And I thought that it was done. However, this is, um might give a couple of shout outs to some people who might not want them, but, this is why you need to surround yourself with people who will pray for you and fight your battles when you can't do it yourself. The 2 students that actually knew what was going on, they sit in the 2 front rows, on the side of me. The first person who found out, I say found out, because I didn't plan on telling anyone, was my boyfriend, Ozzy, and he the amount of leadership and prayer and intercession that this man showed is actually crazy. Um, he's actually the reason that my parents know, and I could go on for hours and hours or else I'll start sobbing, so I'm gonna stop before I get ahead of myself, but I can brag about him for hours and hours. Um, and then I took my good friend Faith Williams to Ella Honables, and I told her, and she was so reassuring. And she told me, "I don't see you differently. You're still my friend. You're still Bianca, and I love you very much. And we'll just keep trying again." And she prays. She prays. And she gets it from her mom, for sure. And her mom has also been a huge role model to me and a huge help. I thought I'd be able to talk more about this, but I want to save you guys my tears. But what I'm saying is that even though I did not feel God at all, and I did not feel his love, he loved me through the people I was around. Ozzy and Faith and her mother and my parents and my family. They were the arms that he used to embrace me in the times where I couldn't even recognize it was him. And the amount of love that I received from all of them not only shows who they are, but it shows who their creator is, because creation reflects its creator. He doesn't always talk to us with a burning bush or a big tsunami wave of just his presence. It's sometimes as simple as the people around us and the way that they love us. And now, kind of shifting a little bit from that, one thing that I really desperately need you guys to listen and focus on is that we all self harm, and it does not look the same. A few examples that I have of this, some are pretty intense, some are obvious, and some are a little more normalized. Drugs, alcohol, sex or porn addiction, isolation, cutting, self-neglect, people-pleasing, conformity, eating disorder, apathy, bottling emotions or masking, overthinking. And guys, this is this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many things that we do that we don't realize is actually hurting us so much. And I need every one of you guys to think, what am I doing that's causing me more harm than good? And I promise that recognizing this does not make you weak. It does not make you soft. It does not make you unworthy. It's actually one of the bravest things that you can do. And at the end of the day, there is no sin that is greater than the cross. Our beautiful reality is that Christ lived the perfect life, died the most humiliating and gruesome death, and rose from the grave, all for us. And he didn't do that for us when we're in our best moments or when we're on this Jesus high, but he did it in those moments where we actually turn away from him and completely reject him. And that is just so great that we have him. It warms my heart every time I think about it. And another thing, when testimonies are preached, it's always after the deliverance. And I'm speaking to you guys, actually, not from the after, I'm speaking to you from the dark side of deliverance. An example, this Monday, I was really, really freaking out about this and just many external things that just I was doing very good the week prior, and then just things kind of came back in my mind, and I was freaking out, and I was talking to Ozzy, and I asked him, "How can I talk about it if I'm still like this? How can I pour into other people when I can't even pour into myself?" And he said, "Maybe talking about it will help yourself and it will help others." And I know that every single person in this room, no one is excluded from this. Everyone is carrying something that is causing them more harm than good. It doesn't look the same for everyone. It's not this super big, dramatic, theatrical thing. It can just be something as small as, I don't want to say as small as, but as normalized as people pleasing. But Christ did not die, like I said, for us when we are at our best, but for us when we were broken. And I remember Mary breaking the alabaster jar, and all of the disciples were looking and they're like, "What the heck are you doing, girl? Like, this is your life savings." And Jesus looked at them and he said, "No, this is actually the purest form of worship. This is beautiful." And there are so many times where, especially like those who are just really like on fire with the Lord, were like, "Oh, I want to break my jar for Jesus. I want to be a vessel for him. So that he can pour into me and I can pour into others. I really want that for my life." But guys, as counterintuitive as it sounds, we can't be a good vessel unless we break ourselves at his feet. We need to allow ourselves to be broken and to lay out all of our life at his feet, allow the fragrance of our life to cover and fill the room. And if we try to piece ourselves together for him, it's not going to work. He only really uses broken vessels. And it's in our wretchedness that he transforms us. We are the jar, and us breaking and surrendering our brokenness is our praise to him. In the Bible, I for some reason did not put the verse, but I'm sure you can ask any of your Bible teachers because it's a pretty common one. It says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." This is literally him saying that he wants us to give it to him. He wants us to be willing for him to work in our lives. And like I said, the disciples, they were all so confused. Like, this is so much value. This is your life savings. Why would you just waste it like that? They used the word waste. But the jar and the fragrance, it had nothing to do with this. No matter how much it was worth, it was not worth more than Jesus Christ. And I'm going to rephrase it. It does not matter how much worth or authority or power you give something in your life, because it will never be worth more than Jesus Christ. And I hope that that encourages you to be more open and willing to break yourself at the feet of Jesus and allow your life to be a fragrance that is pleasing. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose." These trials and these struggles, they're all going to turn out for good if you give them to Jesus. When you give them to God, it will be okay. You'll be in good hands. Trust me. I think if you give your problems to the creator of the world, you're going to be in pretty good hands. My final encouragement is for those who struggle with isolation or temptation and addiction. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it." No matter what your addiction is, and it can be something like a drug addiction or something as small as, like, I don't know, you're scrolling on your phone for so long. The Lord always gives a way out. Every single time. Trust me, I know how it feels to be so tempted to do something, to want to do something so badly that you know is bad for you, and you feel like there's no way out. You feel like there's nothing in this world that will ever satiate this thirst, this hunger for this thing in your life. I write songs. That's pretty much my capstone. I wrote a song a while ago, and it was a reflection of me in middle school. Didn't realize how much it would relate to today. One of the lyrics is, "This pain that I cause won't fix my life." And every time that I hear myself singing that, it's just like, whoa, just like a bullet in my heart. I'm like, whoa, okay. But it's so true. Because the amount of stuff that we consume, the amount of things that we use to try to fill this hole, it can be something like alcoholism, or it can be something like the people in your life. It can be good things that you try to use to fill this hole in your heart, but it's never going to work because it's not Jesus, because he's the only one who can fill the hole. There is always a way out. And think about the fact and look back. When has this thing ever given you a lasting peace, a lasting fulfillment? I would bet my whole life savings, my whole alabaster jar, I would bet that it will never fulfill you. And it never has. And every time that you go back to that drug, or you go back to that person, you go back on that website, every single time you feel worse than you were before. Every single time you go back, you go in your bathroom and you do things to yourself that hurt you, that harm you. I can guarantee you that what you think will heal you will actually hurt you more than it will heal you. And that what you think will make you feel good, what feels good isn't always good, guys. Feelings and objective truth, surprisingly, are not the same thing. And I'm speaking this not in authority of someone who has been clean for years and years and years. I'm speaking this with the authority that I know exactly what it feels like to be in that season. And now this is more specifically for those, because I know that there has to be at least one person statistically in this room, sadly, that has or is struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts and self-harmful behavior. Guys, like, I'm on the same level as you. I'm still struggling every day. It's a battle. Please get help. You can talk to me. You can talk to your teachers. I know it's scary. Trust me, it took a while for me to even talk to anyone at this school. But you might think that you can do it on your own. But guys, we're humans. We're the ones who put ourselves in this situation. How can we get ourselves out of it? It's not over. And there is worth in our life, even if it is just Jesus, because he can be enough. Let's pray. Lord, thank you that in all of our moments, all of our failures, all the times that we've cursed you, that we've disrespected you, all of those times that we were selfish, pleased ourselves before we pleased you, you still loved us. You still loved us and you still want us so deeply. I pray that each person in this room will recognize what they need to work on and how they need your help, and that they won't be afraid to seek help, and that they won't be blinded by this darkness, that they won't feel that them asking for help is a sign of weakness. but it's actually a sign of strength. And I thank you that even though we walk through the valley, the shadow of death, that we shall fear no evil. You go before us, God, in all things, and you always give us a way out. We thank you and we praise you, even if we don't feel like you deserve it. Our own human minds think you don't. Our souls do. So let our souls praise you if our flesh can't. We thank you so much. In your name.
This episode has been a production of the Capistrano Valley Christian Schools Podcast Network. CVCS is a Christian TK through 12 school in San Juan Capistrano, California. Please visit cvcs.org/podcasts to listen to the variety of shows our students produce on our campus. You can also find all of our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and others. We would also appreciate you subscribing to and leaving a review of this show and the other shows on our network in your podcast player of choice. If you have any questions or would like to reach out to us, please email podcasts@cvcs.org. On behalf of the school, this is Mr. Jasper, the executive producer of the podcast network. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for more.